Welcome to Wellness Rebranded.
We know there is so much conflicting health and fitness advice out there.
And you're tired of the wellness fads, endless diets, and impossible standards that make you feel like nothing you do is ever enough.
You're ready to tune into your mind and body and feel empowered around health.
We're the healing trio here to help you redesign your relationships with food, fitness, and yourself.
I'm Elizabeth, registered dietitian and certified intuitive eating counselor.
I'm Maria, licensed mental health therapist.
And I'm Tara, personal trainer.
Together, we're changing the narrative on health away from diet culture, hustle culture, and toxic positivity and towards healthful self-care.
So grab your water bottle, get ready to laugh, learn, and grow.
And let's start rebranding your wellness journey.
Okay, guys, welcome back. We want to get a little bit personal with you today. Yes, we've been having a conversation amongst ourselves about how our own personal journeys out of diet culture and into a healthier relationship with food and health and our bodies. And we thought, you know what? Every single one of us sitting here on this couch, but likely, I think I can safely say most of you listening have always or still are, like, there's a point in time where we've all been in diet culture, probably a long point in time. And I think you might tune in every week and hear us talking about how now we're kind of on this opposite other side of the fence, but you might wonder how we got there. And I think we just want to share a little bit of our personal stories. So Tara, you go first.
So I feel like if you've listened to the podcast for any amount of time, you've heard a lot of my diet culture journey. But like the brief version is I was raised in diet culture.
What's your first memory of either, I don't know if you want to frame it as being in diet culture or a message about your body, or what's your earliest memory of that?
Oh, that's such a good question. I was probably like 6 years old, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember not being allowed to have cookies and sugar and quote unquote bad for you foods, right? And so whenever I could, I would go down to like the pantry and grab like a cup full of sugar and like sneak it up to my room so that if I needed a little something sweet, I had access to it.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah. And like eating a cup of sugar is not delicious.
Right.
Like this was not a great choice.
And such a great example of what happens when people are restricted.
Yes. It has taken me literally until like my 30s and 40s to be like, there will be more. Like you can have another one if you want to. And like turns out like I don't often want more than just a little bit. But it took me literally decades to unlearn that.
And how do you think diet culture, as you got older, what was the way that it manifested for you? Because I think for all of us is different.
Yeah. So I definitely was like a restrictor. So it was just binge restrict all the time. Like for lunch, my friends and I would be like, oh, let's just have one sip of, we'll all share, one soda and we'll each have like a bite of a ho-ho for lunch. And then we would go play soccer for multiple hours after school. And we'd be exhausted because of course we hadn't fueled our bodies properly. And it was not a great way to live your life.
Yeah. Maria, what about you? Well, first of all, because I think your journey's slightly different. When did you first learn about diet culture?
I think listening to my friends, not liking their bodies and talking about the different things that they were doing or wanted to try to do to change their body, especially their weight, right? Or I think even, the comments. I think I remember comments of in where I'm from in South America, I say like they don't hold back when they want to talk about somebody's appearance, right? And they put nicknames to people based on their weight, based on their skin color, based on whatever that is. And I remember, like nicknames to girls in my school that their weights were not in a place where everybody thought that was the right way, even as kids, whatever the right way. Where did we learn that? I don't know. But that's what I will remember.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too, right? Because when you're there, you don't actually have a name for it, typically. Mm-hmm. At least at a certain point. I know I didn't, but I just grew up with a mom and a sister who were doing Weight Watchers. I mean, for many, many years, not only was my mom doing Weight Watchers, but she actually worked for them and would run groups. And I just have a different body frame. My frame is actually more similar to my mom's. My sister's is more similar to my dad's. And I just remember growing up, comments would be like, well, but you're so lucky. You don't have to worry about XYZ, because I was just in a naturally thin body. And I, quote unquote, didn't have to think about it for a lot of my life because that just was my body type, right? And it was, I guess, positive reinforcement around it in a way. But I remember like when I really started to kind of focus on it in a different way was before my wedding. And of course I did the like proverbial, but I got to get really fit and in shape for my wedding. And I started exercising, which I hadn't really done before in a concerted way, and like over exercising and being really careful about what I ate. And it kind of progressed from there.
Thinking about launching a podcast or taking yours to the next level? Juliana Barbati and her team are the experts you need. They take care of everything from episode funnel design to production and marketing, so you can focus on creating content that connects. Check out julianabarbati.com and mention that we sent you. Yeah.
You're making me think of something that I don't think I've ever thought before. Because in my experience, it was similar that I was telling you guys how growing up, it was almost like I was put on the side, because when everybody was talking about wanting to change how their body looks, I wasn't allowed to give an opinion because I was thin, right? It's like, what do you know, Maria, right? So I think I learned from an early age that I had this talent, you know, that I didn't know just because biologically or whatever, my body looked that way. But now, as I grew older and my body started changing, it was like a traitor of my body, because now this thing that has been so admired in me, which was how my body looked, with age, of course, it has changed. And after 3 pregnancies and all that stuff, that now it's like I'm betraying that Maria that everybody looked thin or whatever. And now I look actually decent and normal for my age and everything I've been able to do, all the miracles I've done and, you know, going through life successfully, that it's like, wow, I'm like, that's changing.
So when did you start to move away from diet culture, Tara? Like, when did you start to like think, okay, I think there's a different way? So
my diet culture journey is really long, right? Because I started as such a young child, being aware that I was bigger than everyone else in my class and that there was a problem, quote unquote, with my body. And
Well, not being aware, being taught.
Yeah, being told.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one big thing about
Had
diet
no one
culture.
told you that, you would have been
It's
not thought about it.
Right.
That's
It's not
the point.
being aware
Yeah.
because it's not really, is being taught, being told. Yeah.
I mean, along those lines, my pediatrician once told me when I was like a little kid that square meals make round people. And I was like, what? So like we say we eat 3 square meals a day, which like, what does that even mean? I'm not even
like
sure.
he was saying you weren't supposed to be eating 3 squares?
Like
a day?
I was eating my squares were too much or something. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that is terrible.
So
Square meals
basically
make round
promoting
people.
restriction because,
Yes.
yes. Okay.
And I was a kid. Like this was
Yeah.
Yes.
Messed up.
childhood, not like as
Yeah.
a grown woman or whatever. But I feel like I was taught that there was something wrong with my body. And I honestly think that the most unhealthy thing I've ever done for my body is to believe the lie that it is broken.
Right.
You know, like that's just the crux of everything. However, I lived my whole childhood thinking that something was wrong with my body, knowing that I was the biggest kid in
I
my
just want
class.
to go back and give little Tara a
I know.
huge hug.
Well,
Thank you.
And that's the thing. It's not only little Tara. It's
Little all of us,
any
right?
kid-
But
Right?
But so many kids back then and now,
Yeah.
right, that are going through.
well, and all over again right now, but that's a whole nother podcast episode.
So I actually like chose my career based on diet culture.
So I was just yesterday had a networking meeting with a woman who does something adjacent to us, and she said we were talking about her journey, and I forget how she phrased it, but she said something like dietetics and fitness is a breeding ground for people who are insecure about their bodies
Absolutely.
or disordered eating and fitness. And I know that that's so true. I mean, I think if I am being brutally honest, there at some level, that is some part of what drew me into nutrition.
Yeah. I know for me, it was, I had lived my whole life in a larger body and I did not like the way that I was being treated by other people because of it. And so I got to college, and keep in mind, like, just so you have a visual image of this, like, I got skinny when I was in high school because I was restricting like crazy and I was exercising like crazy, and I would come home from soccer and still go run more. Like, I was very, very active, which of course got me lots of praise for doing the healthy things.
Not the healthy things, but healthy things for those people.
What was perceived, right? They didn't know that you weren't eating and you were probably way over exercising for how underfueled
Which
you
is
were.
not healthy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying, Maria.
Yeah. But then I got to college and I was in like a normal straight sized body, and I ended up, being a major in psychology and then sports psychology. And then I ended up in a class that I had no business being in that was how to coach weightlifting, and 4 coaching majors, which I was not. And simultaneously, while learning about this kind of stuff, I was waiting tables at Outback Steakhouse, and I had a super hot coworker who was a personal trainer. And he was like, "You should be a personal trainer." And I was like, "Okay, that's a great idea." And so that's literally how I got started, as embarrassing as that is. And kind of like the perfect storm of sitting in that class and learning about the secret to never being fat again in your life, and having this guy that I wanted to impress tell me to do this thing was like, maybe I should be a trainer. That's a great idea. I'm going to be like hot for the rest of my life. I will never get fat again. And it looks like fun. I get to wear Nikes every day, so terrible way to start my career. But I will say it's a career I love. And I lived in diet culture during the beginning of my career. And over the years, I essentially recognized that I was now teaching people to have disordered behaviors with food, fitness, and their bodies. And it became uncomfortable for me. I remember like being in consults with people and being like, "Oh, let's do your monthly weigh-in. Let's see where you are." And it's like, "Oh, you lost a quarter pound." And then I had to be like, "Hey, you're not trying hard enough. Like, you are the problem here. You are not doing something. You're not exercising enough. You're not tracking your food good enough. You're not whatever." Right. And it just was such a disheartening conversation for me to have, because I could see the devastation on people's faces. Like, is this the important thing? Like, we are pouring so much mental energy into something that's like, does it matter if you're 5 pounds up or down? Like, I really don't think it does,
I met with someone recently who told me that she had been seeing I'm going to put this in very heavy air quotes, a nutritionist. Now, mind you, this person was actually a personal trainer, not a nutritionist, but a personal trainer who was dispensing nutrition advice. But the person actually told her that she should bring her food scale to a restaurant.
Oh my God.
Okay, hold on. Can we pause here for a minute? Because as a therapist, my brain goes psychological and emotional abuse.
Trauma, yeah.
Yes.
Like,
diet culture causes trauma.
Yeah.
but it's based on emotional and psychological abuse. What is the difference between, let's say, that trainer that is training and say, "You're not doing good enough. You take the scale to the restaurant, What's the difference between that? Maybe this is a little extreme, but not that much. And the husband that when you come home, tells you like, "You're not good enough. You're not smart. You didn't clean well. You didn't have my."
Well, remember
there for
that
me."
Biggest Loser episode? If that wasn't actual emotional abuse, I don't know what was.
Correct.
But again, it shouldn't even be illegal how we are playing with these things that are so delicate and so important just to sell, because at the end is just to sell. When you were saying that you were at college or whatever, and you heard that people saying, "Hey, this is the way or things to do so you're never fat again," they talk to your pain points at that moment. Right?
Totally.
Is when they have those videos as soon as you give birth, and they're like, "You can go back to your belly before you got kids," and how they talk about how your muscles moved, and that's how you never lose that weight. So you have to start doing abs like 3 days after you give birth or whatever.
My pregnancies were so easy. I was so blessed, but I really have struggled with the changes in body. And afterwards, same thing. And I was back at the gym way, way, way too early. I think within days not only did I exercise all the way up through pregnancy, really hard classes, and people, by the way, praised me for it every day. up until I gave birth, even when I was like tired and really probably needed a rest, by the third one, I had 2 other babies at home, but I went back right away because I was like so freaked out about the weight gain after pregnancy, which, hello, your body's supposed to change.
Need a cleaner home without the stress? Our partner Clean is a trusted cleaning service based in Anne Arundel County, serving homes and businesses across the DMV area. They do it all, from routine tidying to deep cleanings, move-in, move-out jobs, Airbnb turnovers, and janitorial services. Their team is experienced, reliable, and focused on giving you back time and peace in your space. And here's the best part. Mention Wellness Rebranded and you'll get $100 off your first cleaning. Visit chrisclean.com, that's KRISSKLEAN.com. Call 410-858-5620 and check the show notes for all the details. And it's also true, and I think we've talked about this before, the grieving process, because it's also true that it hurts to see your body change, right?
Well, it hurts because of the messages, the stories that we've been taught to attach to our bodies.
But also you knew yourself in a way for years, and then that changed, right? It's like when you have changes in your life that are drastic, that is a change. And I understand there is a grieving process behind it. It's like, okay, the Maria that looked that way.
And also, like, it happens again, right? You go through pregnancy and then post-pregnancy, and then eventually, hopefully, if you're lucky enough to live that long, you go through perimenopause and menopause. And like, our bodies are constantly changing. And imagine what a safer place the world would be for all of us if that was just accepted and embraced. There weren't these toxic narratives.
That's what I wanted to get to, that we live in a culture that we want that quick fix, right? And we want to avoid feeling maybe that grief or feeling maybe that sadness or whatever that is. So again, diet culture talk to those pain points, or they're very successful.
Yeah, it preys on our insecurity. Well, it seeds them, right? It seeds the insecurities and then it preys on them, and then it sells you the quote unquote solution to them. It's actually like this crazy circular thing.
Okay, now let me ask you this. If a woman is listening to this episode and she's thinking, okay, but I still want my body to look different. I still want to lose this weight because I want to do it. I want to look a certain way. Or I want to have, this surgery to change, the extra skin after pregnancy. What do we tell that woman?
Well, first of all, I would say, like, that's okay. You're allowed to feel that way, right? And by the way, it makes a lot of sense that you feel that way given the culture that we live in. And then I would say we all have body autonomy, right? If somebody wants to pursue that, they can.
But is it diet culture?
Well, I think it depends for me, right? Like, if something is happening with your body and you are like physically uncomfortable around it, like I've had clients who've had a lot of weight loss and then their extra skin is like chafing and hurting and whatever. Like, I don't think removing that is diet culture because it's like a painful thing. But
for me, we live in a society that is very appearance focused, right? Whether it's weight, beauty, aging, pick a thing. Like, that just, we all exist.
Clothing and
we
everything.
all exist in that culture, and we have to make our way in it in the way that makes sense for us, right? As individuals. But I guess the question I would say is, like, it depends on the cost that it's like, at what cost is that coming to you? If it is, making food take up way too much space in your brain, if your self-worth is attached to how your body looks, if you are feeling tremendous amounts of guilt or anxiety about, what you're eating or how you're exercising or your body image, or it's stopping you from going out and living your life, or if you only know how to do it in sort of a disordered way. I guess my question would be to, like, invite you to really sit back and look at your underlying relationship with food and health in your body, and how is it supporting you or is it detracting from you? And if you land on the side of, yeah, actually, I do think that it's detracting from my well-being, or it is causing all of, these things that I just listed, well, then the invitation is to know that there's another way. There's another way of feeling good and promoting your health and supporting your body, and to explore it. And by the way, if you want to accept that invitation, a great place to start is I'm about to offer my very, very popular, I only ran it once last year, I may only run it once this year, live free 5-day challenge, Discover Intuitive Eating. It's going to kick off at the last week in January, and you can sign up with the link in the show notes, and it's a great way to dip your toe in and just explore. I know I once heard a beautiful explore this, what it's all about and if it's right for you. But I once heard this beautiful analogy of like, imagine, and maybe I've said this before on the pod, and if so, you guys can stop me, but imagine you're on the edge of a canyon, and there's like, you drop down to the canyon if you step over. And on the other, it has two sides, right? And on the opposite side of the canyon is diet culture. And there's a rope, and the rope is going across the canyon. And diet culture is like tugging you constantly over there, right? Over to its side. And if you feel it pulling you into the canyon, right? Then obviously that's not so healthy, and that is harmful. And if you feel that that's happening, the invitation with intuitive eating, or shifting from weight to well-being, or healing your relationship with food and your body, or however you want to look at it, is not to like fall into the canyon, right? It's to let go of the rope and recognize that on this side of the canyon, there's this really much more holistically healthy way to promote how you take care of yourself, how you view yourself, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with food, your relationship with your body, and lots and lots of health promoting behaviors over here that you can engage in. And the invitation essentially is to let go of the rope and explore what's over here.
Mm-hmm.
I
like
have no
I love
idea
that.
if that answered your question in any way,
I like
but
that. Mm-hmm.
I realize I just went on a monologue. Sorry.
Good monologue.
Worth it.
Okay, yes, that makes perfect sense. So it's basically to
So I never want to shame anyone who's on the other side of the
Agree.
canyon. And that's
Yeah.
all. In fact, the whole point of the episode is we literally have all been on the opposite side of the canyon,
yes.
right? We just are in various stages of exploring what's over here. And by the way, it's ongoing.
Yes, and it's an invitation to noticing where is it coming from, like from 1 to 10. How much do we feel that pressure? And if we do feel that pressure, how much of that pressure is influencing the decisions that we make?
Yeah. And not only do you feel it, but is it working for you? Are you getting the results that you hope for in a way that is positive, or are you not getting the results that you've been sold, or is it coming at such a tremendous cost?
Mm-hmm. And sometimes the result can be just peace.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I also think it's so possible for diet culture to like rope you back in and pull you back over.
Totally.
It's like
we're always there. The rope is always there to trip on.
Yeah. I think we're seeing that a lot right now, especially with like the rise of GLP-1s and, skinny culture and all that coming back. Like I do see people that are getting like kind of pulled back over to that side, and sometimes it looks good on that side, but I think overall we benefit more from being on this side of the canyon.
Yeah. So maybe we can sort of just close, maybe share one moment that helped when you had the sort of like, I think I want to go explore that invitation, and then maybe also share how has it benefited you?
So I actually think that this is a very complicated question for me because
By the way, I think it was for all of us. So answer however the heck you want.
one of the moments that I was like, all right, I got to like learn more about this was I've had clients over the years who have been anti-diet before I was. And they have been kind of like slowly dripping their knowledge on me about like, well, have you ever heard of this? And are you familiar with Haze? And
Was I one of those people?
no. Yes, eventually, but not in the beginning. And so it was something that like intrigued me, like I like the idea of teaching people to be healthy and strong without having to worry about measuring their success on the scale and shaming them into like trying harder. Like we're all trying as hard as we can, man. Like we don't need another person telling you to try hard, right? But the clients that have kind of like piqued my interest in it, I'm very grateful for them. And also, I simultaneously recognize that being a weight neutral trainer is controversial and hard, and it's definitely the harder path.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like I don't like having to be
We're swimming in the ocean of diet culture.
Yes. And I'm like one little tiny, fish in the sea there, barely hanging on sometimes.
But it's also why you're so needed.
But it's why I'm so needed. I have a lot of people who find me because I am anti-diet culture and weight neutral. And I don't necessarily like being the lightning rod for all things diet culture. But I recognize that it's needed and it's something that I'm willing to do because I want it to be easier for people in the future.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, if I can think of something, I mean, definitely meeting you two and starting these conversations was a big one for me because I've never had these conversations before. Nobody ever approached me and say, hey, have you thought about this or look at this other side of things? But I think something that when I realized that I needed to find a different way to approach all this was a time looking at myself in the mirror and complaining about it and then listening to my oldest daughter repeating that a few days later when she looked at herself in the mirror. I'm like, oh my goodness, no. Like whatever that is, wherever this is come from, whatever is called, it needs to stop and change now because I saw that it was not bringing anything beneficial to myself and her.
Yeah, it's similar to mine. Mine was sort of twofold. After I went through my dietetics program, got licensed as a dietitian, started my private practice, I had read intuitive eating on my own just because I was a constant consumer of nutrition information. But I had read it and it made a lot of sense and it stuck with me. And then when I started my private practice, I was working with people for like a hot second that wanted weight loss. I saw some unhealthy things around that and they could be making great changes. But if the scale wasn't changing as fast as they wanted, they'd be thinking like it's not working and they'd be beating themselves up. I just didn't feel authentically right to me to promote that narrative. But also at the same time, my kids were middle school and high school ages. And, like many people, they were being exposed to the toxic messages and it can trigger disordered eating. And some of their peers had significant eating disorders. And it really made me like hard pause, stop and look at what was I doing and how was I talking about food? How was I talking about bodies? How was I talking about health? And what message did I feel good about getting in front of them? Mm-hmm. And from that moment on, it went through the filter of, am I okay with my kids hearing this message? And the answer is, unless it was full of body respect and compassion and care and weight inclusive messages, then no, I wasn't, because I don't want them to have to grow up with that generational trauma of tying their self-worth to our bodies.
Pretty much, yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, if you're listening to this and you're thinking that this sounds a lot like you, I just want to close by saying that you're not weak, you're not broken, you're not behind. You're just kind of waking up to this side of the canyon.
It's really awesome over
and
here.
And we're happy to have you here.
And you get to hang out with us.
And go check out Elizabeth's free course because that's a great resource. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you for listening. If you want to connect with me outside of this podcast, you can find me on Instagram at coaching_therapist.
I'm Elizabeth. You can find me at Elizabeth Harris Nutrition or in my Facebook group, Health and Healing with Intuitive Eating.
And I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Tara DeLeon Fitness. Guys, if you loved this episode or any of our other episodes, we would love it if you would leave us a review on Apple Podcast. It really, really helps us get the non-diet word out to the rest of the world. So please leave us a review.
Yes, thank you.